You're in the place where mysteries and the missing meet, where conspiracies lurk around every corner. Welcome to the Deep, Dark Truth.
Welcome back to the Deep, Dark Truth. I'm Mo.
I'm Chip.
And I'm Mikey.
And today we have a listener-requested episode covering a whole bunch of different topics that have been sent in through our email or the tip line, or even sent to us on Twitter. So some of the things we're going to be talking about today are Mariana's Trench, immortal celebrities, the recent development of the Monolith, and we'll see what else. We'll see what else we have time for.
Yay!
I know Mikey saw the Monolith story. Did you read anything about the monoliths that were popping up, Chip?
Yeah, I tried to look into it because I figured we'd do something about it. But also no one, cared. You know? I feel like the conspiracy world is not buzzing over a monolith that they should be.
See, I feel like they were buzzing for a few days, and they're buzzing more now, but now there's somewhat an explanation for at least two of them.
For those of you not in the know, how do you have access to our podcast, but you didn't hear about the monolith even a little bit? It's a big stick. It was in the ground.
Yeah, I mean, it was all over the news, so I saw it and read it real quick. It's interesting.
So the one that I've seen as of now, as of recording this, because I know that this number is going to change, there was the original one that was in Utah, one in Romania, one in California, and one on the Isle of Wight in Great Britain. The ones in Utah...
Oh, I thought there was only 3.
Maybe. Which one didn't you hear about? I think the Isle of Wight one was yesterday.
Yeah.
So that
I haven't.
That
might
have been
gotcha.
why. So, the Utah and California monoliths have been claimed, we'll say, by a commune, a collective, called the Most Famous Artist. They are selling 3 replicas. So they've claimed the original Utah monument and the California monument. And during the discussion of being interviewed at some point, they said that their goal was to encourage other people to do the same kind of found artwork, or maybe monoliths themselves. But the ones in Romania and Great Britain have not been claimed yet. Kind of disappointing, really.
And the one in Utah disappeared, right?
It was taken down.
They took it back?
The actual artists did not take it down. Another group of 2 people took it down because it was on federal land. BLM land, the Bureau of Land Management, manages a whole bunch of public land that is very popular in nomad cultures, like for people that are hikers or full-time RVers or van lifers, because you can park in certain campsites. They're like primitive campsites to do primitive camping for as long as you want. So people will go boondocking. Well, not as long as you want. You get, I think, 14 days at a certain spot, and then you have to move spots. But then you just move to another free space. So 2 people that do base jumping and different recreational activities, they said that it was attracting unwanted attention, that people were coming to see the monolith, but they were trashing surrounding land. And so they just broke it apart and brought it out in a wheelbarrow, I guess. I guess they just took it upon themselves.
Interesting.
But the funny thing is, in that same article, I also read that one of them had been fined for, illegal base jumping or, illegal rock climbing. I don't know, something of that nature. And I was like, oh.
It's fine when I do it.
Yeah.
I get the sentiment behind, hey, they're trashing this, this land and stuff, but, why wouldn't they just contact the government?
Because it's BLM land, they won't remove anything, I guess. They don't have any kind of ranch to do things like that, which I found very strange.
The government would, though, right? I mean, if it's their land.
No, because it's all operated through BLM land, which I think is all operated by the Department of the Interior, and there's just nobody assigned to do something like that.
And it was in a pretty remote spot. They spotted it when they were, counting goats. I found rams.
If it would have just been on, like, a public beach or something, then I'm sure they would have.
Right.
But they would have had people, like, oh, hike back there and dismantle this monolith. They're just like, no, it'll just stay there. It's fine.
Imagine if you were to drop something like that into federal land or territory, it becomes not yours at that point, right?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Does it become abandoned?
Idea.
I think it would have to be a certain amount of time before it would be considered abandoned, because like I said, you can stay for up to 2 weeks, and really some people stay for longer. You're just not supposed to, but nobody's really checking on you.
You're walking on the Appalachian Trail and you end up getting murdered because you saw this guy 3 times? Wait.
Right. I'm just wondering if the most famous artists who have claimed that that's their structure, could they go after them for destruction of property?
I don't think so.
My favorite part of this thing is that the internet found it back on Google Maps all the way to 2016. So it's been there a fucking long time. And so this is the longest long con when it comes to modern art, and I respect it.
Yeah.
Just lying in wait.
The most famous artists had, like, when I read the article, they had said something about them selling it on the website or whatever.
So they're selling, it sounds like replicas.
Okay, replicas.
Yeah, so it's basically just they're selling the same thing.
$45,000?
Yeah, they're selling 3 different replicas at $45,000 each. Or $34,000.
I mean, it's really pretty. I think it's pretty.
Yeah, it's like not for like your neighborhood front yard, right?
No,
You're not just gonna put...
This is my lawn flamingo monolith.
What do you do with it once you buy it?
You put a lawn flamingo on top of it.
I mean, I would love that on my seasonal property, but I'm not paying $45,000 for it. I'll build it myself.
I think it'd be a good idea for a business that's somewhere that's maybe needs to drum up business to buy the monolith.
Or in a park or something like that, like in Central Park or something to that.
Or if it matched their niche. In Rachel, Nevada, they're very close to Area 51. There's a restaurant that gets a lot of traffic because it's like the only thing around, and it's Area 51-ish themed.
Yeah.
Somewhere like that where it fit that very niche.
Yeah, totally.
Market, I think it would drum up extra business for some people.
So do you think they'll sell them? The replicated ones, do you think they're actually going to sell them?
I think they will sell just because there's always somebody rich enough.
Yeah.
It's just so boring. We know what it was.
I mean, and it was kind of smart to plant them and then get this hoopla about them and then bring attention to it and then sell it. It's kind of smart.
Wait 4 years. It's the long con.
You have to respect it. You just have to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they'll definitely get purchased. I think somebody wins the lottery and you just start spending money on stuff. Or like you just fall into some inheritance and you're like, I'm going to buy a monolith. Of course you are.
Someone has to spend $1 million in one day.
Yeah.
What are your theories on the other 2 that have not been claimed? Do you think that's other people just replicating them?
Yeah, I think that once a second one appeared, people were like, oh, we're jumping on this train. Because it's fun. It's the kind of shit me and Chip would do. Like, Absolutely. We would just be like, oh yeah.
This is very on brand for us.
Even once just the first one is there, then it's like, I can put something somewhere.
And the thing is, it's exactly what I thought it was. I thought it was going to be some artist that was looking for attention. Maybe they had a whole story that went with it that once we found that artist, it would be like a Banksy type of situation.
Mm-hmm. Where's the scavenger hunt? I demand a scavenger hunt.
I was hoping like there was going to be like 5 and it was going to be a perfect pentagram somewhere. And if you touch all of the monoliths and then stand in the center and say this chant, then you're going to be an immortal witch for the rest of your life. So I was hoping that was the direction it was going. But
I love that.
It hasn't not been that yet. We just need some more to make a full pentagram that isn't.
One was destroyed by sledgehammer.
The location is still there.
So this sort of kind of relates to something else we're about to talk about, and that is the Georgia Guidestones. I don't know if either of you are familiar with the Georgia Guidestones. Some people also have called it Georgia Stonehenge. There's a lot of different little nicknames for it. The long and short of it is that these stones were erected in 1980 in Georgia. There are 10 guidelines, almost commandment-esque, that are inscribed into the stone. And then there's also a message that is carved into the top. And this is what they say.
Interesting.
Suck a dick. Suck a dick.
And these were made in 1980?
Yeah. So they were erected by a person using a pseudonym of R.C. Christian.
Remote-controlled Christian.
And he wanted these stones to function as a calendar, a compass, and a clock. And also, and this is kind of the important part, be capable of withstanding catastrophic events. This kind of fits, too, into that timeline. So this is 1980. We're just now getting past, in that time period, the 60s and 70s where a ton of new cults popped up, whether that was cults that were very dangerous or more like hippie commune type of mentality, like sustainable farming and stuff like that. Stuff that isn't quite as nefarious, but it kind of makes sense. Right. The monument was unveiled in March of 1980, and the descriptions of the audience vary from 100 to 400 people. It's very 2016 inauguration. Like, that's wildly different numbers.
The biggest numbers of any rock unveiling ever.
That we can say.
So, how did you think that they would survive if are they just simple rock?
Yeah, they're just stone. And they're just very large.
How is that going to survive a catastrophic event?
Where in Georgia are they? Like, south or north or...
They're kind of northeast Georgia, close to the border between Georgia and... a map that has no names, I'm pretty sure that's South Carolina.
Yeah, we were educated in the U.S.
Is it triangle looking?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's South Carolina.
Yeah.
So it's not in, like, the major danger zone of, like, hurricanes. So it's not going to be tested that much.
I'm just thinking like asteroid, nuclear bomb, like.
Well, that's what I think the idea was, or at least to me, whenever anyone says I wanted to withstand like horrible events, I'm like, yeah, you're talking about nuclear war,
right?
Natural disasters, sure, but really. Well, especially in 1980, in the Cold War.
Right. That was my concept too, but like, would they survive? I don't think they would.
They crack open perfectly in half and they reveal a Twinkie.
Allegedly, there's also a time capsule that is buried underneath.
That's basically what I just said.
It says, let these be guidestones to an age of reason. The different languages that are written are
English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindu, Hebrew, Arabic, traditional Chinese, and Russian.
Okay.
And then around the edges of this square, there's written translations to 4 of the ancient languages, 1 per edge, which is Babylonian, Classical Greek, Sanskrit, and Egyptian. It also details how to use the astronomic features. So it says, like, channel through the stone indicates a celestial pole. Horizontal slot indicates annual travel of the sun. A sunbeam through capstone marks noontime throughout the year. This time capsule placed 6 feet below this spot to be opened on, and there is no date.
And fucker.
There is no opening date, so I say let's open it right now.
We've waited plenty of time. Add his chance. Time to open it.
I'm looking at a picture of the inscription of the actual stone. It says to be opened on, and I don't see any date unless it's on a different part of the stone.
There's a lot of fucking writing on this rock.
So the diagram with the layout of the slabs and the modern languages, at the bottom center of the tablet that describes them, it says additional information available at Alberton Granite Museum and Exhibit, College Avenue, Alberton, Georgia.
I'm going to guess that that's the city that this is going to be closest to.
But maybe that's where the answer lies to when it should be opened.
Or we just
open it. Do you don't think anyone has done that already?
They must have, right?
Well, they have to dig under the platform, I think. So under the platform that all the stones are on. So maybe you could tunnel around it? Like, start from the edge and then tunnel into it?
But no one has.
I guess not. The locals might, to a degree, monitor it. I'm sure that there's a lot of teenagers and such that have tried to deface it. I know at one point, someone had written in graffiti, "I am Isis, the goddess of love."
I don't think she was the goddess of love.
I don't remember what I wasn't, maybe Rebirth?
I wonder if there's some type of clue or way to reveal it. Has anyone thrown blood on that empty space there?
Gotta be virgin blood.
Has anyone sliced their hand open
and just
placed it?
Placed it over on the stone. I mean, I would try it, right?
Goddess of the moon, life, and magic.
What?
Isis. Also, the first time I googled Isis, I got wildly different results, obviously, but now I'm just contributing to the list of things that the FBI is watching my search history for. It's fine. Just another day.
There's a movie about it?
I'm not sure if it's a movie or if it's a documentary movie.
A documentary? Yeah, a documentary film released in 2012.
Well, that seems like perfect timing, doesn't it? Even though the alias was R.C. Christian, it was very just, in general, be good to each other type of vibes.
There was something about maintain the population under 500 million.
The fake 10 Commandments. The discount 10 Commandments. Dupe. I like dupe for this. The dupe 10 Commandments. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. 2, guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Diversity is a hot take in 1980 in World Order, probably. Unite humanity with a living new language. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. See, but I do enjoy the tempered reason bit.
I like all of these so far.
This is very progressive.
This is a time traveler. I'm going with time traveler here.
Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Let all nations rule, internally resolving external disputes in a world court. Avoid petty laws and useless officials.
That's what it was.
Balance personal rights with social duties. Prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature.
Interesting. I'm here for those.
I am here for it so much more than the actual 10 Commandments, which, 4 of them are wasted on, I have an ego as God. Suck my dick.
Yeah, can we change this to the,
also don't murder.
The progressive commandments, or the
Satanist 10 Commandments are also very good. But it's basically, don't rape people.
Yeah, I really enjoy these.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm kind of super interested.
Because I feel like they chose their words very carefully. It was probably $1 million per stone etching, so that's probably...
Oh, they better fucking... Or it's manual labor, just him sitting there.
I'm so intrigued. Ohana?
Maybe the guy that commissioned it lives right next door.
True.
Maybe a Ohana, but we already have too much. We're chasing Mothman. We already have a lot on our plates.
There's gonna be a different Ohana.
I mean, I'll go there by myself, but I am super intrigued to see this.
So, Chip, you're going time traveler?
Yep. There's too modern a language. I mean, it was right after the hippie time, so it very easily could have been.
I'm going with they were formerly in a cult, was not what they thought it would be, left the cult, made the Guidestones instead.
This is not what I signed up for. There's too much Kool-Aid.
I guess I'll just do this.
But you taught me this really useful skill of stone etching, so I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this was clearly a cult. It says a small group of loyal Americans. Not cult, cult-esque. They just wanted to put their progressive thoughts, and not on paper, but
they probably haven't dug it up because tourist attraction, but I feel like you'll get a big boom from the tourist attraction of we're digging it up.
Yeah, but there's also the fact that once they dig it up, depending on what's underneath it, a lot of the mystery is gone, and if what's in the time capsule is really boring or solves the mystery in a very boring way, then they would probably lose any sense of tourism they got from it.
But that's when you have your own fake time capsule on the go with something more interesting and mysterious.
Yes.
You open it up, you check, and then you're like, oh, this is shit. I'm going to use ours instead.
The old time capsule switcheroo. I know that very well. It happens all the time.
Is it known to, like, who owns the land that it's on? Like, whose property it physically is?
The 5 acres was purchased by Christian, the person that commissioned it, from a farm owner, but then the farm owner and his children were given lifetime cattle grazing rights on the Guidestone sites. So basically that land wouldn't need to be maintained because all of the grass will be grazed on by the cattle. So even though it's owned by that person, it's essentially part of the farmer's farmland.
So you'd probably have to trespass on farmers' farmland territory.
Yeah, but grazing land is weird, because who gives a fuck? We got a lot of grazing land out here that you can just walk on.
He owns the rights to that land anyways, right?
Well, technically he doesn't own the rights to it. He just has permission, has grazing rights to it, which is a different thing. So his cattle can graze on it, but he can't build any outbuildings, I don't believe, on it or anything like that. That's a permanent structure.
It's owned by R.C. Christian.
And in the same token, I don't know that he would be able to press trespassing charges unless you somehow interfered with the cattle. I'm not sure how it works, but I'm guessing that the town probably likes the attention, and the farmer probably kind of knew in advance what was being built. Like,
not
hey,
specifically, but so you know, this is what you're getting yourself into.
Right.
But then they have to know who the identity of R.C. Christian is, though, because he legally owns the rights to that.
Right, but also knowing the identity versus knowing the identity. Like, did they meet them? Did they meet through a mutual friend?
I mean, are there legal documents? Was it cash purchase?
Somewhere his name is documented, though. His real name is documented somewhere.
Right, but also, is there any kind of NDA?
That's public record.
Right, but that's public record, though, the name.
I'm gonna guess, but it still says purchased by Christian. So what if Christian is just a red herring type of situation?
It's a fairly common name.
Yeah, what if this guy's name is actually Christian and we just are like, that's real Jesus? Also, what if the farm owner just gave himself grazing rights and he's actually Christian? That would take care of, him knowing the identity because of him.
And it would protect because his name would be on the farmland in the first place, right? Interesting.
The road is called Guidestone Road. Well.
Yeah, if I had a Guidestone on my street, I would also petition the city, like, hey, we need to do something about this. We need that money. I'm opening a farm stand in front of my house. Like, I'm going to sell trinkets out of my wagon. You need to change the name of this road and help me out.
This is far too interesting to let go.
Well, you're going to have to.
I'm moving to Georgia, and I'm joining a cult, and I will figure out this secret.
Well, that's what I always say.
Owner, Elbert County BOC, Bureau of Commerce.
Oh, look, Chip's already investigating for me.
So the county?
I don't know what BOC stands for, but it makes sense. Board of Commissioners.
So the stones, you mentioned the stones were defaced.
Yeah, so there had been graffiti at some point. I'm sure a lot of local teenagers, this looks like a spot we would have hung out at as teenagers. Like, my mom grew up in the middle of nowhere. There is nothing to do up at my papa's house. There's nothing. There's some gas stations. Good old gas town.
I guess it says, you will not succeed on there, death to the New World Order, and Jesus will beat you, Satanist.
That makes sense, just because it is very close to Satanists' language, like Chip brought up. Mm-hmm. Also, everyone is scared of the New World Order, for whatever reason.
Especially when it's like, use some reason and logic in your, let's get rid of useless government officials.
Well, I think one of the things that it was talking about having a global court, and anything that has to do with a global court or a worldwide method of government, enforcing government, social programs, etc., people go, New World Order. Illuminati.
Yeah, socialism.
So it was October 1st, 79, sale price $5,000, reason gift. And this is the last sale I can find, although that doesn't mean much. So, thus implying that in 79, that it went to the Board of Commissioners.
Yeah, it said when arranging the payment, Christian said that he represented a group which had been planning for 20 years and wanted to remain anonymous.
It sounds like what happened was he bought the land, gave the farmer grazing rights so that when he gave the land as a gift to the county commissioners board or whatever, that they still would have to have that farmer have grazing rights and couldn't just knock down the Guidestones and use it as commercial land and then gave it to them.
That's exactly what it is.
And then they would have to abide by the grazing rights.
And even the people that he had commissioned to do the work on the stones, he remained anonymous through the entire thing.
Very interesting.
Very, very interesting.
Let's talk about some other mysteries.
Yes,
Let's talk about the Marianas Trench.
It's a big trench.
Conspiracy theory about the Marianas Trench. Are you ready for it? Because I don't think you're ready for it.
It's a big hole in the ground?
Maybe.
There's two, and you can probably extrapolate what at least one of them are.
Sea monsters / government experiment?
Mikey, you guess now.
Mer people, and I'm also going to go with government experiment.
They are, drumroll, aliens and Megalodon.
Stop.
I'm taking it for sea creatures.
You get a point for sea creature. Not mer people's technically sea creature.
Yeah, would you call it a megalodon, though? That would be horrifying. A merman.
It's a siren.
Yeah, they're terrifying.
You just merge them together and they're a siren. So,
right.
The very first expedition that ever went to the very bottom of the deepest part of the Marianas Trench, which is called the Challenger Deep. I might say Challenger Deep a few times. It's also sometimes called the Challenger Abyss.
It's like as tall as Mount Everest, but inverted, right?
Yes, so it's actually, you could put Mount Everest in the Marianas Trench and it would never break the surface. That's how deep it is.
It's crazy.
Yikes. The ocean is the most terrifying part of this planet.
It really is, and we've actually explored space and know more about space than we do about the Marianas Trench and other trenches that are deep within the ocean and the creatures that live within them. So in 1960, the first expedition went down to reach the Challenger Deep, led by Jacques Picard. That was Chip's Star Trek gasp. Now I know what that sounds like. So it wouldn't be until decades later that Picard's logbook from this expedition would be declassified. And during this time, because of the unreasonable pressure, it's something like 4 tons per centimeter or 3 tons per centimeter, some ridiculous amount that can crush iron. They were only at the bottom for 20 minutes.
Even that is, impressive.
It really is.
Yeah.
Especially that they didn't get, bends and die.
Right?
That's the most impressive thing to me. I was like, y'all are alive? No one got the bends? All right.
I don't even think I have claustrophobia, and I feel claustrophobic just thinking about it.
I think people that typically don't have claustrophobia in extreme circumstances, they'll realize that they have a little bit, just a little bit.
Right. Yeah. I'm reading here that 1875 was the first Challenger expedition.
This is the first one that actually reached the very bottom.
That's not just for sounding and measuring.
That wasn't just
gotcha.
sounding, measuring, or just dives that they could dive as far down as they could that's set on the bottom. And it wouldn't be declassified for decades, but when it was declassified, they found that halfway down, a large dick-shaped...
Aliens!
Well-hung aliens. All right. Halfway down, a large disc-shaped object was spotted from the portholes. and that the disc appeared to be stalking them as they made their descent.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, like it was going down at the same pace and circling their submersive vehicle. And then after a few minutes, it disappeared. They didn't see it again. So that's a fun one.
Deeply upsetting.
That's interesting.
Far closer to aliens than I expected to get.
So there is 100,000 different alien theories and ancient astronaut theories, and it appears to be a subcategory of ancient astronaut theorists that believe in subterranean ancient astronauts or aliens that have been living inside the Earth. A very hollow Earth, journey to the center of the Earth, Jules Verne type of situation.
Right.
And they believe that aliens are going from these subterranean places and coming out under the water, being able to move around the Earth through the water. They were never out in space. They were living within the Earth. Aliens. We had to hit them.
Upset by this following object. That is more than I expected from
aliens or natives that have been here longer.
What we know now about the small amount of creatures that we do know that exist in the Marianas Trench that can withstand this pressure, they're all very ugly, horrifying creatures.
And flat, though.
And some of them are very, very flat. So was that some giant type of, stingray, manta ray type of creature that would be flat like that just so happened to be huge?
Yeah, even some of the fish down there, though, are pancakes.
Yes, but also amoebas. So amoebas in the ocean at that level, all the way down in the Challenger Deep, they can reach up to 4 inches. Let me say that again. Amoebas.
No.
Wow.
That's too
can
big.
So it's up to 4 inches.
No. I opt out.
With that way of thinking, I mean, any creature that is more complex than an amoeba can be gigantic.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Everything used to be bigger.
Which also leads us into that megalodon theory, which is that because of the pressure and these very specific conditions in this very specific part of the ocean, something like a megalodon would be able to continue to survive. Now, this obviously sounds crazy. It's because we're talking about extinction for such a long period of time. But there's lots of things that we thought were extinct that turned out to not be extinct. Things like alligators are obviously very closely tied to their ancestors. We have even chickens. Chickens are
Dinosaurs.
partly terrifying because of how old and creepy they are.
Yeah.
I know there's a more eloquent, better way to say that, but I'm just speaking from my soul with its T-Rex feet.
I will never understand your love for bears and how you think they're so cute and you are so scared of all these insects and animals.
They're precious puppers.
Oh, I'm not scared of them. I'm just saying that if you had never seen a chicken,
Yeah.
that it's the little dinosaur feet and it trying to peck you and kill you. Same thing with swans. Swans are horrible. I would much rather pet a bear than go near a swan.
Let's go with geese having teeth.
those are
on their
Truly the
tongue.
most horrifying
Awful.
animal on this planet.
They're all birds. Have you noticed that
Oh
all
my
of the things we're
God.
naming are some sort of bird?
And the only real, subspecies of animals on the planet that are monogamous. Scary.
Truly the
Scary.
greatest horror on this planet is monogamy.
Scary. The only species on the planet that is known to be monogamous. Scary. But also, I mean, giant squid are over 40 feet. Whales are over 100 feet. I mean, something living that deep could be gigantic. It could be anything. You know what I mean? And based on the disc shape can be seen on anything. You know what I mean? Like, you could, if a giant whale is hovering over you, it could look like a disc from where you're at.
Stalking whale.
You know?
Yeah, citation needed, but, a lot of species used to be fucking huge and now have evolved smaller, and I think it's because there was, more oxygen in the atmosphere could support a larger creature, and so Water has a lot of oxygen if you know how to process it correctly.
Yeah, rodents were like 4 to 6 feet in length. You know, they have records of that. That's crazy. Could you imagine?
No thanks. Well, rats I'm fine with. I'm fine with a giant rat.
They're very clever. I don't know if they would be that clever, though.
They're rodents of unusual size.
Thousands and thousands of years ago.
I mean, I'm not really here for giant rats specifically because of their giant rat teeth. The teeth are already too much when they're little.
And the tail? No, thank you.
Still better than a giant goose.
I mean, I love rats now, but I imagine they would be very dumb, large creatures back then.
Anyway, Megalodon more than alien.
Okay, wait. I have more supporting.
The alien theory?
No, not for the alien theory.
What are you holding back on us?
Yeah, I talked to an alien. He told me it was all above board. It's really legit.
You buried the lead on this one.
So in 1985, there was another exploration in the Marianas Trench. This time, a research vessel called the Glomar Challenger. And they had this probe that they called the Hedgehog that they would lower into the water. It had a camera on it and it had all these different cables that were made of steel hooked to it. And it was just this, at the time, very sophisticated piece of equipment. So they lowered it down. And then when they went to try and pull it back up, they couldn't. So they kept trying and trying and trying for hours to bring this probe back up. And when they finally were able to, it was almost like it was just released. Like all of a sudden, it just came up and it was fine. And in this specific area of the trench, there isn't a lot of debris or rubble. It's not rocky on the bottom. There shouldn't have been anything able to obstruct it from being brought up, especially when you're that deep. There's not like 11,000 foot seaweed growing. Like there's nothing. It's just water.
You don't know.
So once they finally were able to bring it up, it looked like it had been gnashed in the jaws of some type of giant creature, allegedly. And the cables, the steel cables that were connected to it, were snapped.
It had cameras on it. Was that footage lost, or?
It didn't say. I'm going to try and find another source for it, because my original source didn't say that they could see anything.
There's some weird looking fucking creatures in the Mariana Trench, let me tell you.
There's something called a dragonfish that looks a lot like an anglerfish, but somehow worse.
How can it be worse?
It doesn't have the little, dangly, creepy ball of light, but it is bioluminescent. And it's just not it, sis. I just don't want it.
What's this Dumbo octopus? Oh, that is weird looking.
Specifically, I've heard things about the way that octopuses grow in the trench, and that some of them have 2 sets of tentacles, so their tentacles can, like, expand. I don't want it.
And they have little ears, which is why I probably got the Dumbo name. But weird. What a weird looking thing.
There was also a lot of audio recordings taken at this time, and some of them are very strangely creepy.
Is it like whale songs? Because whale songs are fucking weird.
So it is similar to whale songs, but the thing that they can't figure out is that these noises don't seem to happen at, like, certain parts of the year. They seem to just randomly happen. And they thought that it could be this very specific type of whale, but they haven't heard this specific noise in that type of whale before. It seems like it was an extrapolation based on the fact that it vaguely sounds whale-ish.
Have they tried playing it to a whale and seen if it responded?
I don't know. They didn't have, like, a Q&A session.
Well, that's their bad. And I need them to check with a whale to see how it responds. If it runs away in terror, that means something.
Yeah, there are ones that they definitely think are whale sounds. There are other ones that people report hearing going down into the trench that, like, during those early periods that were never uncovered, but they could have been the same whale sound, even though they kind of described him as more metallic or more this or more that. There were a couple different variations on the descriptions.
Have you seen the drawing of this megalodon that they think?
I have not, but I know what a megalodon looked like. It's just the most giantest shark.
It looks like a T-Rex head is put on a giant whale.
Ah, yes, the sound from the depths.
I'm trying to figure out if anything came of the camera footage or if the camera footage was just, like, eaten. The stuff that I found was through various documentaries. One on the Discovery Channel, and there's also a YouTube channel by a person named Riddle with 3 Ds.
He was named after Picard.
Wait.
Picard the character was...
Wait! Whoa! Hold on a minute, because I had that thought, and then I was like, no, that's really niche and probably not true at all. So Jean-Luc Picard was named after this.
Supposedly, it was a reference to him.
That's amazing! And he boldly went where no one went before!
Why do you think I gasped?
I just thought that it was like a Picard fanboy kind of moment.
It was that too. Like, the origin of Picard.
I want to watch the video now.
Well, you are gonna have to wait. Mikey's like, I want to watch this whole documentary on the Guidestones while we're recording,
Right.
and then I want to watch this whole other documentary on...
Movie night with patrons.
So there's obviously a lot more options than Megalodon and aliens, but you have to pick one.
Megalodon.
It's just so much more believable that it's a giant animal of some sort. I'm not saying it's Megalodon. It could have been anything.
I absolutely agree. And I think I even said in the very first episode, when we were talking about cryptids and what we believe in versus what we don't, that I thought that the Marianas Trench was the most likely to be housing secret cryptids, and the fact that not cryptids, just species that we haven't discovered yet, because that's how I view cryptids. Are some of them more outlandish than others? Sure. But at the end of the day, I think that cryptozoologists and zoologists have the exact same thing in common, which is trying to discover new species and trying to take care of all of the species that we have.
I'm certain we've talked about how the most terrifying part of this entire Earth is the ocean before on this podcast.
It is, because look at what it produces.
Look at an anglerfish. That's all.
The goblin shark? Have you guys looked at a goblin shark?
No, but I'm about to right now.
Do you want to sleep tonight?
Oh my god, no, that's creepy. Look at the Dumbo octopus and the goblin shark.
This needs to not exist. Basically, the Marianas Trench is just filled with things that shouldn't exist. Prehistoric things. I can almost guarantee you that every creepy, crawly fish or whatever is that all of it shouldn't exist anymore, and it can. Simply because 2 tectonic plates smashed into each other.
Oh, I just saw your dragonfish.
Isn't it horrifying?
Yeah.
Listeners, send in your horrifying ocean animals so we can Google them and be scared.
Did you see the barrel eye fish? Its whole head and cerebral thing is transparent and see-through.
It's a
and
little
it's got,
submarine.
Like, eyes inside of it.
It's a fish
and
submarine.
Lights behind. Yeah, it is. And there's 2 giant things in there that produce light. It literally has like 4 lights behind its eyes, and you can see the eyes and the lights.
Oh my god, it's so cool. It's a Pokemon. Yeah. That's a Pokemon.
That right there. That's a Pokemon.
I can see its brain!
Now Google the sea devil anglerfish and then don't sleep tonight.
Yeah, they're all terrifying. Yep, that's an anglerfish, all right.
Gross.
Also, during the course of one of these many documentaries, I love listener-requested episodes because it's like, oh, I'm just going to watch some documentaries on the Marianas Trench and then fall asleep. It's fantastic. So, also during this, I learned that they were dropping chickens. And I'm not sure exactly how this worked because there was a cage with chicken in it, but it was like a whole chicken.
But like a dead, like to feed it.
Exactly. I'm thinking that the chicken was already dead, like they, broke its neck and then threw it in a cage. But the moral of the story, James Cameron told the story actually on Jimmy Fallon, is that when they would bring up these chickens, that it would be picked clean completely and all that would be left is bones. No feathers, no meat, no little bits of tendon, no anything. Picked clean. Very
goat in Jurassic Park.
Yes, and that dragon fish thing looks like a cross between an anglerfish to me and a piranha.
And an eel.
Yeah, eels. Eels are fucking weird.
It's the eyes.
And a giant eel.
It's the cataraxy looking eyes.
Never trust an eel.
Uh-huh.
Ursula taught me that, and I stand by it. Like, why is that a words of wisdom with Chip? Don't trust an eel.
And you agreed instantly. That's how you know it's words of wisdom with Chip.
Okay, we only have one more thing. I thought about skipping it, but we were supposed to talk about immortal celebrities in the last listener-requested episode, and we never did. So, let's chat.
We didn't talk about this? Keanu Reeves.
We did not talk about Keanu Reeves because we ran out of time. So there's obviously many a conspiracy theory. If it exists, there's a conspiracy theory about it. One of the most popular on social media websites is that Keanu Reeves is immortal. Other celebrities rumored to be immortal and or time travelers, because I know a lot of people have accused Daniel Radcliffe of being a time traveler. The Graham Norton Show, which is a BBC talk show, has an entire series on it. Every time he's on the show, they show him new pictures that they found in the internet.
What were you doing there?
Claimed are Daniel Radcliffe, and some of them are amazing. So if you care at all about either Daniel Radcliffe or the idea of time-traveling celebrities, you really should Google time-traveling Daniel Radcliffe, because some of them are just chef's kiss. They're just great.
So who's on your list?
So Keanu Reeves is a contender. Paul Rudd is one of the contenders.
I found a list of 8 of them.
So let's go.
Nicolas Cage, Keanu Reeves, Shia LaBeouf.
No.
Actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, that's a different story then.
I think these are cases of, like, them finding old photographs of people that look... Yeah. So Shia LaBeouf, Leonardo DiCaprio, Natalie Portman, Peter Dinklage.
All right.
Peter Dinklage.
Who's this?
Thus far, they've all been generic white men and one generic white woman.
Rachel Weisz and Orlando Bloom.
Yes.
The most believable out of these is Rachel Weisz and Nicolas Cage, to be honest. I'm sorry. They're creepily the same.
The picture that they have for Orlando Bloom is a stretch.
Well, and the weird thing is, too, is, like, I've met so many people
That look like somebody else.
that same mannerisms, same, like, genetic, like, facial structures, and I'm like, you remind me of this person. I don't know, I just think this is...
What we were just talking about was there's pictures of those specific celebrities that resemble somebody else, pictures of other people from years and years ago. But then there's also the idea, especially with Keanu Reeves and Jay-Z and a few other celebrities, that they don't seem to actually physically age. Paul Rudd. And I would argue that they do age. It just so happens that men specifically, sometimes women, but men specifically, seem to get better with age a lot of the time. Men in their 30s and 40s seem to be much more attractive than the 20s versions of themselves.
There's a big social thing going on
It's
here.
true.
Women aren't allowed to age.
Well, interestingly enough,
Well, also, I think it has to do a lot with, if you look at a picture of your grandparents, for example, when they were the age that you are now, they look twice as old as that. And a lot of it has to just do with the clothing and makeup.
skincare.
And the fact that they were, like, working in factories and living their worst mesothelioma
Asbestos.
lives. So, of course, they look older. Like, your grandfather went through 2 wars and then inhaled asbestos all day.
Yeah, and I mean, I've looked at a picture of my grandfather and a picture of my brother of when they were the same age, and they're nearly identical. This photo is crazy. You know what I mean? So, like, I just feel like it's a case of that. But interestingly enough, Leonardo DiCaprio is compared to a woman.
Good for her.
Yeah, some of the time-traveling Daniel Radcliffe photos are as well.
Yeah.
I just hate the ones where it's like, here's them in 1990 and here's them now. You get that they're a celebrity, right? So they have plastic surgery and so much makeup on right now. There's more makeup there than human flesh.
Well, and especially when you have the access, like, even if it's not just cosmetic that's been done, when you have a lot of money, you're
eating
are in
better.
Healthier environments, you take care of yourself better, you have access to, creams.
And their photos are touched
up.
Post-production.
Common folk wouldn't have. Right, exactly. Not to mention there's the perfect lighting on celebrities at all times.
This is getting depressing really quickly.
That's how most conspiracies go.
You're gonna die haggard as hell.
Have fun with the asbestos.
I think this is also a case. There's thousands of celebrities, and I think some people just look younger for longer than other people. And a lot of times has to do with that, like, baby face, chubby cheek type of face. I have that face. Like, I know that face.
Or like Patrick Stewart, he doesn't have a lot of hair, literally hair, to just judge by, oh, it's getting longer, oh, it's grayer. His skin is still smooth, he looks the same.
Yeah.
Now he's less smooth.
He does look the same, but he looks like the same him. I would say that he has a lot more wrinkles and stuff. He's obviously aging.
I feel like that's more recent. Like, if you looked at him from, like, 2012, he's looked a lot like 1990 him. And now, age is finally catching up to him. It took its sweet time.
Yeah, I think that's typical of men, though. They hit this wall, almost, where, they're free radicals in their bodies start aging them. I mean, I think like 4 or 5 years ago, I could pass for someone under 25, and then all of a sudden in my mid-30s, it's like complete. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell the difference. So I don't know. It's just, I think especially with men, there's that kind of wall they hit.
I want there to be at least time-traveling celebrities.
Well, I hear Dan Rad.
I just can't get on board with it. It's fun, though.
It's fun. It's totally fun. Why celebrities? Just can't people be immortal and time travel and not be celebrities?
Sometimes you're just bored.
I think it's just about being recognizable enough for somebody to see a picture of somebody. They're not going to be like, oh, that looks like Dan from my 4th grade English class.
My God, this man is a clone of my teacher from 7th grade. Takeaways from today. Don't trust the ocean. Celebrities and rich people have it better. Big rocks can be more trustworthy than eels.
Well, with that great wrap-up, make sure you send us in your tips for our next listener-requested episode. Who knows when it will be? Not me. Whenever the queue fills up, that's when we'll do it. Subscribe to the show, because we know like 60% of you aren't subscribed. Also, you can come find us on all of our social media, which is, of course, in the link tree in the show notes below. I'm getting into the TikTok.
Oh no. I'm gonna make it big.
That's how you say it when you're over 30.
Oh yeah, I wrote to do everything as the Twitters and the TikToks.
Oh, I don't call it the Twitters because it came out in 2008.
What's TikTok?
Cue Delilah.
That's all. I'm Mo.
I'm Chip.
And I'm Mikey. Okay, boomer.
You just listened to the Deep Dark Truth Podcast. See you next time. And remember, your local cryptids want to meet you.